Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob.
Rock and roll.
My name's Seth, and I'm joined today by Totally Metal Mariah.
Metal Mariah. Just exploded.
And ironically enough, Punctual Pat, because that's one of the descriptors of the main subject of our film, was punctual. He was it impressed the director how punctual this subject was.
Punctual?
Oh, good one. We could have helped Punk Patrick.
Punk rocktual.
Nope, stuck with punctual. Sorry, Pat. That's all you get. That's all you get. Guys, we have a movie that we watched and we're going to tell you about. That's how this works. We are a How to Be a Movie Snob podcast. Our dream is to be movie snobs because why not become something that nobody likes? You know, why not that be the goal?
Why not strive to be something that annoys everyone?
You know, when I think about the most annoying people on earth, I figured, how can I make like a step-by-step goal to do that? We're going to take a quick little break here.
What?
Yeah. Anyways, so what I was saying, guys, what was I saying? We watched the movie.
That we watched something.
Yeah, we watched something.
Oh, you're explaining what this podcast's about.
Oh, yeah. We watch movies because we like to become things that we don't like.
Being pretentious.
Yes. So speaking of being pretentious, we, of course, have our top movies of all time. And we've been going back and forth sharing these movies that we are called pretentious. Although, let's be real, guys, we are not the movie snobs we are trying to be yet. So these movies, some of them don't quite meet that pretentious level, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
our favorites.
That's right.
Not
right. And if we were true pretentious movie snobs, our favorites would be completely unwatchable. Obviously. Yeah. Pat was close with, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I did put a Terrence Malick on mine, so we both have a little nod to unwatchable there. So a little tip of the hat to you, my friend. Little tip of the hat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I leaned into the snobbiness that I do possess.
Was that?
It's probably not the 10 movies I've watched the most in my whole life.
Is that the Moneyball pick?
Which this movie?
Was that the one? The Moneyball.
Moneyball is not the pretentious pick. That one is a.
Just like it a lot.
I just like watching this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Brad Pitt charms me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And recently, Mariah, we just did her movie, which was... No, this was Pat. Pat, it was your movie, The Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another...
The one on my list is a different Paul Newman.
Different Paul Newman. Yes, that's right. More eggs involved. So last week we did Pat's movie, The Sting. The week before that, we did... Was it... The Loud Man?
No, it was Star Wars.
Star Wars, that's right. The other snobby sleeper movie that nobody saw in theater.
Unknown director.
I love THX. Today it's my week, guys. Finally, bringing this show back on the rails. I apologize for this last 2 weeks. No one wants to watch anything about Star Wars or Paul or Redford and Newman. I mean, who cares about those guys? Like they're not loved by their era. No, that's ridiculous. So let's get to stuff that really matters. Mm-hmm. Oh, guys, I am so happy that we're back into this movie. I don't know if I'm going to start with a hot take, but I might before I explain what this movie is. Because my brew is Tokyo Black, which is very end of the movie,
merging some things.
A lot of things going on for the movie here. And ironically enough, I didn't even choose this beer. This was my nativity beer of the day, so it was just meant to be. Just meant to be. Hot take.
Advent.
This movie's so good it's still underrated. That's how ridiculous it is. It's so good, it's still underrated. That's my hot take. Pat, Mariah, what movie are we watching today? I don't even want to say it because it's just so good. The goodness off my lips.
This is Spinal Tap.
Yes!
The second best thing to come out of 1984 after me. This is Spinal Tap.
And yes, we're including the Macintosh.
Clearly.
There's probably a bunch of stuff that actually came out in
No,
1984. That's
that's
better
great.
than me, but
Is that your hot take?
Is that your hot take, Pat? Best thing to come out in 1984?
no,
that's
that's just
Mic
those
drop.
are just facts.
Those are
Just facts.
Oh, that's great. Mariah, what's your hot take? I want to hear all the dirty, the nasty.
Well, I'm drinking a Bodhi.
Oh,
That's my
and the India Pale Ale, not the porter, in case you're wondering.
cold one. I guess my hot take is partly I've never seen the whole movie before.
What? Actually, I mean,
Turns out.
that's fair. Actually, I could. This
Turns
is
out.
definitely one of those movies.
I
you
went
know.
blank enough times in this going, what?
That's
I don't
crazy.
remember much of this. But
Oh.
that's,
Yeah.
side plot there.
That's more of a personal thing, guys. In case you're wondering at home. Situations where Spinal Tap is shown may not have been.
And then the other thing was reading the plot on Wikipedia was funnier than watching the movie.
Oh, first of all, you shut your mouth, but that
Doesn't mean I didn't like the movie.
Oh, the plot is.
But reading it was pretty great.
I do have to amend my facts.
Oh yeah, it's like there's a few good movies that came out.
You
in
weren't
84.
born in
Yeah,
1984.
Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Beverly Hills Cop, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Karate Kid, on and on. 1984 was a
much
great
better.
year for many things.
Dune, the original Dune, obviously.
I mean, you can throw that in there if you want.
No, you can't.
It's in the bundle.
If you want. But,
Oh, that's great.
I wanted to give it The Natural.
Oh,
What else we got? There's a bunch of good stuff
No,
in
it's
there,
still the best movie in 1984. Still.
including yours truly, The Last Starfighter. Also, classic. Never-ending story.
yes.
That movie's just mean.
Oh man, Spinal Tap
so I
is
guess-
getting bumped so many times.
No way.
I guess
Spinal
I
Tap-
will
Ugh.
update. I will update my saying to many classics, including yours truly.
That is
came
the
out in
weakest.
1984.
It just gets
It's not a hot
weaker.
take.
Just
Those
not-
those are just facts.
Yeah, Spinal Tap is getting.
Are you ready for my
weaker.
hot take?
Oh, you still have some.
My hot take,
Oh, I can't wait.
which is going to have a tangent
Oh,
because just like Mariah,
Yes.
brought to you by Bodhisattva from Georgetown Brewing.
Samesies.
When I picked up a new pack of this from the Cost Company, a nice gentleman said, what did he say? Something. He's like, oh, such
you
a
know
good
the story,
movie.
right?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, Bodhisattva, the movie. And I'm like, there's a movie? Like I was so thrown off. And eventually we got around to explaining that Bodhisattva is a reference to the classic Point Break, starring Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze.
That's crazy.
And Bodhisattva, I believe, is Patrick Swayze's character's name, Bodhi, although it's spelled differently. Georgetown Brewing also comes out with the Johnny Utah,
Get out of
which
here.
is Keanu Reeves' character's name, among and a few others.
Who's Lucille?
I think Lucille is unrelated.
Oh.
There is same with maybe Manny's, but there was definitely some one-offs from different characters' names, which I thought was fun. Anyway,
Back
so
to
movie
1984.
podcast,
Clever Georgetown.
Red Dawn,
Yeah.
The Karate Kid. There's
Yeah.
so many movies that came out in 84.
Oh man, Red
yeah,
Dawn.
so many.
All right, keep going, Pat. Sorry, just had to throw those two in there.
So anyway, there you go. Even our beers are movie related.
You can't help it, guys.
My hot take is this movie's almost not fake enough in that the people
The amount
are
of people
too
that
real.
were duped watching this.
People are too real and the music is too good.
The music is too good.
That's
It's
what our dad
so
said about A
good.
Mighty Wind.
It's amazing. So,
I agree with that.
I agree too.
they're just too good of musicians, and Christopher Guest is just too smart. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so darn good that real bands aren't as good as Spinal Tap. and they've had a worse time than Spinal Tap. Like that's the best. But because this is like the first that ever did it,
Well,
No, I mean, no, in this way, like people have had mockumentary, but this is the only like
improvisational
improv mockumentary. This is the first. No one did this before this. There would be no Office. There'd be no Waiting for Guffman. There'd be nothing. This thing is insane. The more that you think about
the happy accident that was, we can't actually explain it to you.
I see. I listened
in
to
a script.
Yeah, but I don't think it was an accident because they knew they wanted to like improv. Okay, let's read the Wikipedia. Should we do it?
I don't think I read the description.
The demise of the drummers.
Oh,
the
so
demise
good.
of the drummers in the Wikipedia plot.
Oh,
So much funnier than when they just talk about it.
It's a little long, so we'll kind of go. We'll start off. Filmmaker Marty DeBerge is filming a documentary about the English rock band Spinal Tap 1982 U.S. concert tour to promote their new album Smell the Glove. The band comprises of childhood friends David St. Hubbins and Nigel Turfnell on vocals, guitar, and bassist Derek Smalls, keyboards, and Viv Savage, and drummer Mick Shrimpton. The documentary shows his early days as a skiffle group, the Originals. They then renamed themselves the New Originals. That was discovered by another band who was already called the Originals, so then they changed it back to the Originals before they broke up. They had a hit as then they had a hit as the Tamesmen. Give Me Some Money. You're right. This is going to go.
Give me some money.
So this is the best part. So you get this history of this band, and then you see this tour that they go on, and it's the demise of them in the middle of the tour as they start out pretty strong and go hilariously bad. But yet there's a glimmer of hope in the air.
Yeah.
Of a faraway land. And a
fall
farm.
and rise.
And a farm where people can procreate at. Working on the sex farm.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't care about anything else. Just go our favorite quotes of the movie. We gotta just go quotes. This is like Princess Bride. Nothing really matters. Let's just relive our favorite quotes or favorite scene. I'm gonna start, of course, with Nigel on the piano playing this gorgeous piece because again, Christopher Guest is freaking talented.
His mock.
Yeah, he's like, well, D minor is actually the saddest of all keys. And then he goes, oh, that's beautiful. Says, yeah, he's messing around with that. What's that called again? Oh, Lick My Love Pump.
Yeah,
and they have to cut away so fast because they're 1,000%. This is another hot take. They break so many times in this movie. This is the first time I noticed them actually laughing out loud,
but it
so many times.
It feels like it makes sense in a way. Like
it's little, but you can tell it's more than they want to.
When Marty DeBerge is reading the reviews, and he was like, for Shark Sandwich, the 2-word review.
Which
like,
also is
they were definitely laughing. Who could print that? That's not real.
It also just makes so much sense too when you find out how many first takes they put in the movie that there wasn't. I mean, they were like, of course you have to have the authentic reactions to these, and some of them are laughs. Like,
I think that's the other thing I would say. This is, maybe the most researched or constructed improvisational movie ever, because the amount of backstory
which is
they
great.
all knew about all their characters and the history of the band, so they could have the same memory of like, that's what that guy's name was. Like, yes, they're improvising, but they also like were these characters.
They're just remembering their backstory that they've invented so well. Yeah,
and they had so much more backstory than ever is in the movie, but it like made it all feel genuine, which is why I think so many people were like, why is there this movie about this band?
Yeah.
And
like they didn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
And the questions they didn't know were coming. They had no idea what questions were coming. They just knew their backstory so well. I thought that was brilliant because I did wonder that. I'm like, did they know like, okay, this is what I'm going to ask you, and then you come think up something. But no, they literally had no idea what question that he was going to ask. And they
But
or apparently what the reviews said about
it's such a typical documentary interview, though. Yeah. I mean, they're just classic questions, all of them. So you guys met. What's your first song that you guys did? Oh my god!
The drummer? And we got to talk about Peter Smokler. the cinematographer, who's famous for rock documentaries. And he's like, I don't know, guys. I don't think this is going to be funny. This is exactly like everything else I shoot.
Yeah.
Which is what
fooled everybody, including rock bands.
Oh my gosh.
Or they were all like depressed watching it because it was too real.
I can never take myself seriously.
You hear the Billy Joel comment?
No.
He said, I didn't know whether I should laugh or cry the whole time I was watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Steven Tyler was depressed by it. I think the Edge was similarly
Ozzy was a good one. Ozzy was pretty funny.
Like, wait,
this is too
is
real.
this about us?
Oh, it's so
yeah.
A
couple scenes.
Danzig, same thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The scene where they're in the green room and you see like their spread and like they'd asked apparently for Oreos to get scraped off or something, you know. And it's like, that's ridiculous. And he's talking about the bread being too small.
The sandwich. How do you fold the bread?
And then he keeps folding the bread. Like, he's like, no, you'd fold the thing. He's like, but then it's only half. And he's like, why are you folding it?
Oh my god!
How dumb he is.
It's so good.
It's like, well, no, then it's half the size. It's like, well, why do you keep folding it? And I think that was one he kind of broke in it, but it still
he's
felt
so broke. He's
great.
You see the manager holding it together. You see the manager like really just holding it together.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which like cut to a fun fact though is like loosely based on Van Halen. And how they had in their contract that we want a bowl of M&Ms with no brown ones in it. And they only said that just to see if anybody's paying attention to what the contract says.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Like, I was just checking to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that spread was so pathetic looking. It looked like somebody just squirted easy cheese everywhere. And those teeny tiny pieces of bread. Oh, man.
Okay, Mariah, favorite scene? Oh, yeah, go for it, Pat.
Oh, I mean, you let Mariah go. I don't know.
What's your favorite,
this gets into
Honestly,
Princess Bride territory with
my favorite part was when they're talking about the demise of all the past drummers.
Yeah.
Like one guy died in a suspicious gardening accident that the police said it's not worth investigating. Or it's best not to know.
Best leave it unsolved.
Another one choked on someone else's vomit, which is so disgusting.
And the best line of that was, because you can't really dust for vomit.
No, you can't. And then the other one just exploded.
The dust for vomit. The director's like, I couldn't handle that one. He was definitely off campus for that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because Rob Reiner can't hold it together. He's like the first to break in all these scenes.
No.
Yeah.
That was, I think honestly that might be my favorite.
Okay, how did you guys watch this movie? I just want a little stop here. How did you watch it?
On some free app where I had to watch a lot of
you watched
commercials.
it on Tubi or something? Oh,
Yeah,
gross. Pat, how'd you watch it?
I did have to do that. I started rewatching it with their commentary. I know. Well, I'm not always in the room where I can do that.
Where all the DVD
So my first watch, was kind of terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
But I've been rewatching it with their commentary.
Thank
Spinal
you.
Tap's
I'm so glad because that's what I did. And I didn't
DVD.
know it was a thing. So on the special features edition came out in 90, I don't know,
2 or something.
I don't know. So it came out and the intro, because I just turned it on, I didn't know what was going on. And all of a sudden I hear them talking. Oh. And like you see the logo go by.
Now I am sad I did not get to watch that.
And then I'm like, wait, they're now talking about the movie as the band. The band's then what talking?
Well,
it's so good.
They do. There's a lost art to the DVD menu, the Blu-ray menu that they take advantage of, right? Like they're explaining, like, well, what are special features and what is scene selection, and they're explaining it to each other.
Well, yeah, you've already seen it,
and it's just the menu.
Of course, you've seen it. That's what we need to select if you've already seen it. And so the whole time they're mad at the director, at Marty, for taking the piss out of them. Like, this is such a hack job. This is like, of course he's having.
Well, why'd you show this one when it didn't work?
Of course you showed that one. I look dumb. Like it's just. And all their interviews sense. Oh my gosh.
Also with Christopher, I'm trying to like another scene where I just felt like it was so great was towards the end, and Christopher Guest is just standing off on the side because he's already left the band. but he's kind of trying to get back in, and so he's kind of like singing, like
Singing
mouthing the
along.
words while he's on the sidelines, and just waits for Michael McKean to like wave him in. And it's so cheesy, so
it's perfect.
silly.
And that'd be like
But
the
like
loved
so
it.
good.
highlight of like the Eagles.
Yeah,
This was an Eagles like documentary. That'd be a moment where they get back together.
they got back together.
Oh,
The obviously the guitar scene, or we end with going to 11,
of
is
course.
amazing, right? Like
Uh,
you listen to it.
Yeah,
Listen to the sustain. It's like I
I'm
don't hear anything. Well, you would if it was being played.
but you know, like you just keep going, like it's just there.
Did you know on IMDb this movie is rated out of 11?
Yes,
It's the only one.
It's the only
on
one.
IMDb. I love
it
it's
so
so
much.
good.
They
It's that beloved that they would do that just for this movie.
Yeah, Jack Black says this is the greatest movie of all time.
You ready for the other 3 movies he mentions? All 3 are on my list: Citizen Kane, Casablanca, and This Is Spinal Tap. He's like, those are the 3 people
Yeah.
we're going to talk about. No one's going to be talking about these other movies that, like, you know, I don't know. Let's just name a few. Like
He's going for my list.
I'm looking at both the lists, like The Arrival, Cool Hand Luke, South Pacific. I mean, Rear Window, Gosford Park. Like, these aren't going to be movies that people talk about, right?
Arrival, not The Arrival, starring Charlie Sheen.
No, it's This Is Arrival.
2 very different movies.
Yeah.
With
Very
the,
different.
with the
Again,
umlauts.
I kind of like the Charlie Sheen one.
with the
but
umlaut
it's not
above
good.
it. Arrival.
Yeah. There's funny stuff in it that like was because it was cut. Like there's a whole backstory of
my
like
gosh,
them
yes.
making out with the same girls to get cold sores.
Obviously, yeah.
So there's just
The
the
opening,
scene.
the
Which you don't
opening
need.
act.
They just have cold sores.
It's
Yeah.
like a full subplot where there was this opening
Yeah.
act that was all female band, and then they still had the cold sores all throughout the movie. And at first I was like, what's all over his face? You don't know till you read the facts later.
And then
But it also was just funny because you go, oh yeah, like
That makes
they're
sense.
kind of gross.
like
Like
for sure.
Well, look at the spread.
like the fact
they
that it
have.
wasn't explained is kind of hilarious.
It's so
The line, such a fine line between stupid and clever, is
Yeah.
very good.
they and of course the band and Rob Reiner are like that's kind of the movie.
Yeah, that's a
That's literally the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah.
the whole getting lost on their way to
Um,
the stage.
The funny that
Yes.
getting lost on the way stage
really
I swear,
happened.
No, not really happened. Happens to every band.
Yeah.
Not like 1 or 2 bands have said that story.
Yeah.
I have seen like a half dozen interviews that mention that, and that's you know. And then the Aussie who actually like moves the pointers around so his band does get lost on purpose, but that's different. Oh my gosh.
I like also Harry Shearer's character, you know, when they're having this big blow up, you know, after the Stonehenge debacle, he says, "Can I ask a practical question at this point? Are we going to do Stonehenge tomorrow?"
Or when they're like going through the list of all the ones they can't play after Christopher Guest leaves.
Oh yeah.
They're like, well, that's
Oh.
really like
Jazz.
we're down to
Jazz
And even the
experiment,
jazz
whatever.
fusion was like on the moment. They just made that up on the moment. They just said, let's just try to do some jazz fusion stuff. They didn't even like plan that out. This movie's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, and they said the parts that cracked themselves up, of course, were like the early when they were talking about the drummers. They talked about that, but the motel guy checking them in with the big glasses, like that killed everyone. They couldn't handle it. And then, of course, at the military base, what's his name? Who's in all the other movies?
Fred Willard.
Fred Willard. They're like,
Yeah.
when Fred got there, they're like, we couldn't handle it. Like we had so many scenes we couldn't use because we just couldn't
He
handle
just
him.
goes
He's just
100
so
miles
funny.
an hour. It's so
Like,
funny.
I think I'm part of the band.
Yeah. Do you know a band in
Oh my
the
gosh.
Four Jackson to Jill,
Yeah.
whatever
He's so
Ramada
good.
Inn?
Although I thought the best cameos were Billy Crystal and Dana Carvey as the mimes.
As the mime
Seconds.
waiters.
That was Dana Carvey? Oh, I knew it
Yes.
because I knew it was Billy
The first
Crystal,
one.
obviously. But I
Yeah.
didn't know it was, oh,
Yeah.
and then
Mime is money.
You know who else I did?
Mime is money.
Because everyone told us to shut up. Just shut up and eat. So, hey, that's what we... That's in the
Yeah, there's a
deleted
wild-
scenes, by the way. That's not in the movie. That's in the deleted scenes.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys.
I
I'm like,
missed that
we're
one.
all quoting the deleted scenes, guys. This
Yeah.
didn't even make the movie.
Well, no, Mime is Money is in the real one.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mime
but-
is Money is
But the where Billy Crystal's talking
whole
to one of
rest
the
of
guys,
it.
he was like, "Yeah, well, you know, my dad used to always say, just shut up and eat." So I was like, "Hey, that's a good idea."
classic.
The guest star that's crazy. I mean, Paul Schaefer also is a great
Yes, that was a good one.
appearance as,
Yeah.
Artie or whatever. Did you guys recognize first watch who made Stonehenge?
No, the gal.
Angelica Houston.
That's.
Oh, yeah,
I was
yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
say I could not figure out where
I
Angelica was.
forgot that's where I knew she was in it. I forgot that's what she did.
Because Fran Dresser, of course, you can't not know it's Fran Dresser.
Yeah.
Like she's
No.
For
always
sure.
she's
She's
full
very
Fran
good
Dresser.
in it.
But Angelica Houston, I couldn't figure out where she was because I knew she was a cameo.
I honestly forgot that's what she was being attacked for. Like she was just sitting there quietly arguing and
It's,
Yeah.
Trying to
Well, it
defend
says it. I have it
herself.
right here. 18 inches. That's so good.
oh
There's-
my gosh.
So the other thing, which maybe we'll get into, like not only did these people have this life before the movie by way of like, their sort of creation, but there's quite a bit of post Spinal Tap.
Oh
Like
my
they did tours,
goodness.
and there's a tour where they redo Stonehenge, and the Stonehenge is too big to get into the stage.
Which
Yeah,
that
it's so
was-
good.
which band is it that got so upset because they actually had Stonehenge on the cover of their album that
It
year?
might have been Aerosmith.
Yeah, it was Aerosmith.
I think it was Aerosmith.
Like they thought,
And
well,
it was like
of course
that
they would think
album
that's not
bombed.
funny.
And some people say Nigel was Jeff Beck. That's the other one people say.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
he had like a similar hairstyle. They're like, yeah, they kind of nailed the look.
I saw. There was an interview though where Christopher Guest kind of talked about where he kind of came up with the idea, and he was at an airport
Yes.
or
This is
not an
a great
airport. It was a
interview.
hotel waiting for somebody,
I think it was oh yeah.
And-
yeah.
and this British band shows up, and the manager turns to one guy. He's like, "Where's your bass guitar or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh, must have left it at the airport." He's like, "You what? I left it at the airport. I don't know." And it just became this long
He just goes
debate about losing his instrument, and Christopher Guest said it was the best thing that's ever happened to him in his life besides meeting his wife, but just listening to them.
And Christopher Guest's timing's impeccable. He's just like,
Yeah.
they went on for 20 minutes. It was the best moment of my life. I mean, apart from getting married, I suppose, but
Yeah.
he's so funny. He's frustratingly funny. He's too smart. He's one of those guys who I'm like, I don't know if you'd be cool to hang out with.
Yeah.
Because he's too on it. He's so quick. Because Ricky Gervais interviewed him, and it was few people are wittier and quicker than Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
But Ricky Gervais he was just having a good time and laughing because Christopher Guest is just on an edge. Like he's kind of a maniac in the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Because he's so
I would just love to be in their house, hanging out with them, like just on a regular day.
they seem to still
it
like
would
each
be
other.
so fun.
They seem to be cool with each other still.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Jamie Lee Curtis is his wife.
No.
If any of you listener,
How do I not know
Didn't
that?
know this.
I didn't know that.
Which
Gosh.
and it's
Are you
funny
kidding me?
because
No, I
I
didn't
think
know
he and
Oh
Rob
my
he and Rob Reiner are good friends.
Guess
and
what year
Rob
they were
Reiner
married?
and Jamie Lee Curtis.
that year.
Married when the year it came out. Married in 84.
Oh,
So they were dating.
So it's
and
like
about
Scream Queen and mockumentary guy get married.
Yeah.
Like the things they were famous for at this time.
and they're still
Yeah.
married.
well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love them
yeah.
so
and Rob
much.
Reiner and Jamie Lee Curtis play Zoe Deschanel's divorced parents in the show New Girl. So
Oh, yeah,
the
of
fact
course.
that they're like
Right.
friends
Oh my
too,
God.
I
I
think
forgot
is
great.
that.
fun.
That's so cool.
Oh, it's
But,
like happy
yeah.
stories in Hollywood. This doesn't seem
It's
real.
all,
they're
it's
adorable.
all good.
Yeah, and like even like their recent interviews because Spinal Tap. Oh, Spoiler alert, Spinal Tap 2 may come out next year or the year after. That's crazy. Because there's a big
you know
lawsuit.
why? It's like finally,
a big lawsuit.
It's wild.
So apparently they gave away the rights to a company so they can make the movie, and then they just got paid by that company to do the bit essentially. But
over time noticed that they were not getting what they were supposed to be getting.
Not getting paid one bit. Not really one bit.
Well, they did get paid, but it was like not
pittance.
Yeah.
No merchandising, no music sales, nothing.
Considering they wrote all of the music.
Oh my goodness. Like that hot take's pretty good. Like they're too good that they're better. They're more of a legit band than most bands than some bands that have been in documentaries. So
yeah.
I feel like the movie's maybe like too hard to like fully dig into, but I still we're flying fast. But I've got some fun facts. I don't know if we're already ready for fun facts.
Yeah, this whole thing's a fun
fact.
But
it feels related.
Anyway.
Yeah. Did you see the Oasis one, Mariah?
No.
Yes.
So Liam and Noel Gallagher went to see Spinal Tap live, but at the time they were touring both. Like the opener was A Mighty Wind, or the Folksman.
Yes.
Yes.
And then they became Spinal Tap after or something.
Yep.
And Liam was so bored at the folk music part, and he was like, waiting for Spinal Tap, and he's like, they're the same guys. And he was so freaked out that Spinal Tap wasn't a real band, and it was just these actors. But I think the funny thing too is it is as real a band as any band. They tour.
Yeah.
They've got multiple albums at this point. Like it's a real band.
Well, even
it just started as a fake band.
Even the previous bands with their hits that they played, like the music they played before. I mean, they were legit songs.
It's good.
Give me some money.
The
whole
it's a good song.
Hippie folksy one. That was so funny.
Good. Yes.
Loved it.
Ed Begley Jr., their first drummer.
Yeah.
Who shows up in a lot of good stuff later.
That's true. And Christopher Guest, who is a legit guitarist, and all these guys are legit singer musicians. He had to learn how to play like solos though. That's the one thing I gotta give him mad props for, because he was like a guitar player, but he wasn't like a lead guy. And so him like learning to be this lead guitarist was pretty awesome. And now he's just like a ridiculous musician. Like he's the lead of everything they do.
Well, the diversity that he in all of his movies. I mean, like where he plays the guy who's singing to his hound dog.
The dog.
And like
I could tell you all kinds of nuts.
Talks about all the nuts.
Used to make my mom so mad. I'd say every kind of nut.
He's a ventriloquist.
It's probably because we live on Pine Nut.
Oh, that was Mighty Wind. That was best.
Best in the show. No,
it's they're still singing. They're
Mighty
still
Wind.
singing.
He's still singing. Oh, it's so good. And of course, in Waiting for Guffman, he is Guffman, and it's like I did not know. It's almost hard to recognize Christopher Guest until you've seen him in an interview, because
Princess Bride.
Exactly right. When I think about Christopher Guest, I think about a faceless, no emotion person. And ironically enough, the closest to that is the character in Princess Bride. Christopher Guest is more like that character than I think any of his other characters. That should be my hot take, because he is this hilarious, deadpan, super smart.
He's so dry.
Probably
He's so
evil.
dry.
Probably. I know you are, buddy.
Tell me, how do you feel?
It is important for my work.
Be honest.
Can we also just talk about? And I'm not British.
Oh no, it's British.
But their accents and the amount of improv.
Well,
they never got
technically Christopher Guest is a baron.
He has. Yeah, he's got. Some blood.
Yes, but he doesn't typically speak with an English accent.
No.
Oh, it's so.
They're so good, and
so good.
To me, it's one thing to like learn your lines in an accent. They improv the entire thing.
Yeah.
And they jump into it. I saw interviews of them like recently as these characters, and they're so good. It's natural. Yeah. It's like they lived this other life as these characters.
Yes.
And they just click into it. It's crazy.
They did say they did not get out of character the entire time filming. They stayed in the British
I
accent
imagine that would be hard.
And for Rob Reiner to just
be Rob Reiner.
Be there and go through it. Who actually, another fun fact, Rob Reiner was originally supposed to be in the band. He was supposed to be one of the band.
But he couldn't play anything.
Harry Shearer said he didn't look good enough in spandex or tight. He was like, no.
So they made him the director. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, and we kind of talked about it, but it was Talking Heads guy, Chris Franz, after he watched it, said, I can never take myself seriously again.
And that's when
then
they Stop Making Sense came out this year. Arguably the best rock documentary and the best mockumentary came out the same year. The irony of that is hilarious to me. Probably because there couldn't be a good one ever again because everyone's seen Spinal Tap, so they'll never do it again. So that's hilarious that he said that because still to this day, you go to IMDb, that Stop Making Sense.
I wonder if that's why there's not that many documentaries about bands
that aren't on Netflix.
Because everyone's like, ooh, I don't know because it's
Behind
all
the Music.
Be Spinal Tap.
Behind the Music had a good run.
Oh, Behind the Music was amazing.
Oh, that was good.
No, there's a ton of them out there.
But it wasn't like a full-on movie.
Oh, they're out there. They're just on TV.
Right.
Because I
the other one,
all of them.
The other one that is worth watching. Maybe there's more than one. Documentary Now, the series.
Yeah.
Right.
Does some pretty good. There's a pretty good rock, or maybe it's a musical. Is it the musical one? It's like the recording of the musical soundtrack or whatever. They do some pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Again, fake documentaries, but I don't think that very much of that's improv, although some sure is. But it feels like, again, we're gifted so many things post this movie, including all the other Christopher Guest movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That it's sort of amazing. And then I think I think there was an interview with it's Kurt Cobain and like Dave Grohl, and they were basically talking about like there are no like good rock documentaries, and Dave Grohl's like, well, this is Spinal Tap, and they're like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I find it interesting that of all of these types of movies, the one that Rob Reiner directed is the one that has all the F-bombs in it. It's like all of the other Christopher Guest ones, they're like pretty tame as far as like language goes. But this one was
they're a rock band.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just, I mean, the dog shows, it's not quite the same scene.
I don't know.
Community theater can get pretty rough. We all know.
Definitely.
For sure.
I mean, they're all adult. But yeah, maybe fewer swear words in the other ones.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh my gosh. Yep. So fun facts. A lot of them I feel like are so we know them played out. Like Spinal Tap did. It was either live or one of those. They played Big Bottom because famously all three people are playing bass. So they had the Guinness World Record for the most basses played for one song. Because basically all these, like the best bassists of all time came out to play Big Bottom. So you got
even that
Les Claypool and Kenny. It's just insane.
Even that, like the idea that, like musically, that the song's called Big Bottom. They're literally musically, it's big on the bottom. It's so
no guitars, just
good.
Basses.
And it's a good, catchy song. Like I was kind of blown away by how raunchy that song was. We're actually listening to the lyrics. I was like, oh, whoa. It's so catchy.
If
and
you know what I mean.
Oh, I can't like sing this around anybody.
There's nothing, if you know what I mean. You literally just said it. There's no innuendo.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of the songs you go, oh, this sounds cool. This is nice. And then it's like, oh, like there's not a lot of it's not double entendre. It's just entendre.
Yeah.
It's just out there.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Because it sounds good too. It just sounds good, even though it's ridiculous.
That's funny.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, Harry Potter reference. You guys see this? Every dark arts teacher getting replaced is like the drummer of Spinal Tap.
That's awesome.
That's pretty great.
The oral C hat that
Yeah.
Rob Reiner's wearing.
Marty
nice.
DeBurgy.
It's so
Well, the oral sea is not a ship. Coral sea.
Coral Sea is a ship, but it's
Is a ship.
Oral
Oh,
Sea.
jeez.
Anyway, so for Princess Bride, Rob Reiner got Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits to compose the soundtrack, and he said jokingly, but they used it, is that as long as you find a way to get the hat into the movie,
Nice.
and it's on the wall in the
Yes,
bedroom.
it sure is. That's so good.
That was something I was trying to figure out, like, why that felt like a trope, like the director wearing some weird military hat. And I think the only reference I could find is Steven Spielberg would wear a lot of like LAPD or Sheriff's Department or a Navy hat. So it's like basically making fun of Steven Spielberg only.
Oh, yeah.
But then it became
But
like
then everyone
cartoons
started
or
wearing those
something.
hats.
yeah, it's like
That's
that's
great.
what that is the weird
You're a
directory
good director.
thing.
You wear that kind of hat.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Well, and Steven Spielberg stopped wearing those kind of hats, I think, after. But that was the other funny thing with Marty DeBurgy. Like what it's like a portmanteau of all these directors, like Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, who are the other ones? De Palma. Brian De Palma, and then Bergie. I feel like there's one more in there. Anyway, I just like that it's
Coppola
just
or
let's
something.
slam together.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You
That's
know,
so good. We got to talk about the
the
Black
other
Album.
there's the Black
The
Album.
Black Album. It's like, could it be more black? No. And then, of course, Metallica.
None
Black
more
Album.
black.
None more black. And then Metallica, 100%. They told Spinal Tap. Yeah. That's a homage to
Absolutely.
you,
Yeah, it's
for
great.
sure.
It is funny too because it is like they mention it. You know, it's like the White Album, and if it was intentional, kind of baller.
Yeah,
you know,
kind of baller.
but because they didn't like it, they do mention on the in the cast commentary, or not the cast, Spinal Tap's commentary. We probably overreacted to that. You know, like up and down day. It's like it's fine.
It doesn't
He's
actually
like, I think
show.
it's sold okay.
It doesn't actually show the original cover to the glove.
I think we get
does
a
it?
glimpse
show
of it.
somewhere.
Do you like?
We
I
get a
don't
glimpse
remember
of it,
getting
I
a good
think.
look.
No,
Because I kind of
it's
was
not a
like,
good
I
look.
want to see how offensive this is.
Fran Drescher vividly describes it
Yeah.
over like a minute.
Yeah,
And-
and then they're
and
like,
Ian-
"Oh, if you were in
Ian's like,
that
yeah.
outfit, then it would be okay."
It's
But
a
because we're
fine line between clever and
Oh.
stupid. Yeah.
Yes, that's where that came from.
Oh, there's just a bunch of
Uh,
fan-made versions, which
Yeah.
is very awkward.
I don't know
There
that they
is-
give you
I should
a
not have
full
looked.
look.
I need to.
Yeah, it might have been just
Ex-
Fran Drescher
Don't
describes it
describe
so well.
Her description was pretty good, though.
That was so
Yeah.
good.
The
Oh, he's in chains.
Do
Got
you
it.
see why that would be horribly offensive?
No, I mean,
There's another one which it feels funny in that it's like probably one of the few things they like set up was in the guitar scene. You know, where he's doing the tours. He's talking about the wireless amp.
yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh.
And then in the performance where he quits, you know, he keeps picking up like police chatter or whatever.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I literally thought like, oh, they went back to the military base because they had the like
Yeah.
stuff going over. But that makes so much more sense. I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
That's a good.
that's funny. And then how good are the closing credits? All their little scenes, we get the like, this shirt is my insides exactly, and he's like, it is green. See how like your blood's blue, and he's like, no, I think that's just the vein. It's like, oh.
It's so good.
And then, you know, what would you do if you weren't in the, you know,
Oh,
making
yes.
music?
What
And
would
Nigel,
you be doing? Oh God.
he's like, you know, haberdasher, you know, maybe
Yeah.
still shoes. "Oh, what size do you want, sir?" You know, like
I think I could do that.
Something like that.
I feel like I could do that.
he's like, "You think you'd be happy?" He's like, "Well, it depends. What are the hours?" Cut to black. The movie's over. It's so good. And just these little dumb little moments that you're like, yeah, they just were filming for a bit,
yeah.
and they couldn't figure out where these fit in the movie, and it's so perfect as this kind of closing.
I can't handle it. Yeah, I started watching, and of course I started watching some of the other ones, like like Mighty Wind,
Best in Show.
Because
I haven't rewatched all of them in a while. Best in Show has always, in my mind, been my favorite.
yes, it is. I agree. It's still the funniest one.
It was for me until Mighty Wind, and it's not because I think Mighty Wind is funnier so much.
Just better music.
But the music is so good.
Yeah, and the Mighty Wind, like you like 2 or 3 of the storylines, and then sometimes the other one's not as funny. But then because they keep there's
just
so
all
many.
the Harry Shearer like telling the backstory to that song, and like you just, I'm transported into my
Kiss at the End of the Rainbow.
Huh?
Which song are you talking
No,
about?
from A Mighty Wind. Like,
yeah, Kiss the End of the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiss at the End of the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Mickey
It's a big deal for the folk world.
Big deal.
yeah. It's a good song.
No, it's a
And
good.
they all played it.
they all
Catherine
played
O'Hara, voice of Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, I was famous for what? Doing things that the other girls wouldn't. Oh, that movie. Oh, that movie.
That's how
was
raunchy,
so
how
awful.
raunchy they all
And then I got to
are.
become the new Mrs. Boner.
Literally 2 left feet.
Yeah.
Cookie.
And is it I kept
boy.
waiting for Eugene Levy to like walk into this movie. That's the only thing that
Yeah.
Spinal Tap
I know,
is missing
he's
is
missing.
Eugene Levy, because Eugene Levy helps write all the new ones with Christopher Guest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing that Spinal Tap is missing. But other than that, I can't. It goes so well because it doesn't have the slow moments as I feel Waiting for Guffman and Mighty Wind has. That's the one thing I will say. The editing of this, which again, the editors never get enough credit.
All 3 of them
Yeah.
that it took to do this one.
Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine?
You're
editing
just
this?
recording hours and hours
Yeah.
and hours, and
That
you go
would've-
make a narrative.
I would be like,
But
I'm just taking
also-
the first cut.
Especially when the cinematographer has no idea what's really like why it's funny. So he's just
And there's some
But
intentional
that's
camera
also
movement.
so perfect.
Yeah.
Intentional camera movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how well it works. And then again, how real it was. They set up this whole thing, like you have these showing like them dealing with like the music producers or or the album the record label, and then dealing with like trying to do promotion, and like it just feels so real. And I think seemingly based off like all these big bands being like a little bit PTSD about it are like, yeah, that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
I
find
it's
so
so
amazing
absurd
that some of them, like made them sad or they didn't laugh because it felt so true, but nobody was like angry about it. It was just like, no, that hit too close to home, or I thought it was just really good music, or there's nobody that was just totally mad. And the fact that it was a commercial success too. The fact, like, you'd think one of these, like this type of movie would not have been popular when it came out. It would be one of those sneaker ones. No, it was. It was
Nobody saw it in theater.
Successful.
Nobody saw it in theater though.
I think they did.
Oh, no, that's not. Oh gosh,
Money Mariah thinks.
Money Mariah
thinks
I was
it
like,
did okay.
I read that it did not do well, and it wasn't until VHS came out.
Well, that definitely.
Budget was $2 million. Box office was $4.7 million.
It
So
flopped. It flopped.
I didn't think
It
it was
doubled
a
its
flop.
money.
I thought, or maybe it was good critics.
Yeah, no, critics loved it.
yes,
Like, reviews were
critically,
great.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
nobody saw it. Like
Critically.
nobody saw it.
Sorry.
I think people didn't know what it was.
Exactly right.
And I think there was a big complaint,
clue.
like,
Well, and if all
You
the
need
other
to, like,
movies
wink.
that you listed in 1984, like, when would you have time to watch that? Because everything else
busy
was
year.
great.
Yeah, but this is better.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. this movie, the Siskel and Ebert were joking. Like, it's like, this is just a really smart movie. And they're just complimenting, like, yeah, and I guess good thing you're that smart, huh, Siskel? And they're just making fun of each other for like patting themselves on the back for how smart they are
for understanding
the joke, for getting the joke. Because this would be like most people didn't even get the concept that this was a joke, because there's not even that many rock documentaries out there to even have the
No, the fact that people didn't know it wasn't a real band, for people to not know that.
So good. And now, this is the irony. Now there's documentaries about bands that are so bad, that are real, that are more tragic than this movie portraying a fake band.
Yeah.
So
this like skirts tragedy. I mean, obviously the drummers all die.
Yeah.
If that was real.
Hysterical.
And they're literally spontaneously combusting on stage.
Yeah.
That would be really
But the fact that it's like such a happy ending with the tour in Japan. Like, guess what?
Sex Farm is huge in Japan.
We're number 5.
Yeah. Well, and then Mick Shrimpton blows up on stage Japan.
Immediately. And Mama Bear takes over.
Yeah. Joe Mama Besser. Which I guess that's an in-joke. Because Joe Besser apparently took over as Curly in the Three Stooges. When the original Curly died. Something
There's just so much stuff that I wouldn't even have picked up on.
That's so funny.
No, it's so good. Seth, is it my top 10? No. Best in Show I think was just outside my my top 10.
How can you put
so
Best
that would have
Show
snuck in here
above the original and the Game Changer?
I know, but again, I'm not talking snobby meter.
Oh, just say you're right.
Because
it's love. Yeah.
Just movies I will rewatch whenever.
Best in Show is so funny.
I love this movie, and it's so impressive that they did it, how they did it. The fact that they're like, instead of paying us to write this script, we'll just shoot 20 minutes, some of which is in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
They like redid the hotel scene. It was like the same actor, but he didn't have like the Coke bottle glasses yet. There's a few other things, and they're like, this is what the movie is. And then the other crazy thing is Norman Lear, who is this famous TV producer, is who financed this.
Yeah, the fact
like
that
he is like, here's $2 million.
And if you look at Norman Lear's, I mean, he did. Was it All in the Family or?
And the Jeffersons,
Happy Days.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of risk-taking.
So he knew Rob Reiner
stuff,
because
honestly.
of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact, and he was old at that time, so like it wasn't like contemporary for him. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, you could do a mockumentary about a rock band.
Yeah. But it's crazy, like, and that was just him. Here's $2 million, and they made it for $2 million. Yeah, it's they also Writers Guild stuff. I think is kind of interesting because the four of them got credit as writers, but they wanted to give everyone basically in the cast writing credit because it was improvised, and Writers Guild was like, no,
you can't.
You get 4.
You get 4.
That'd be interesting.
So it'd basically just be like the guys that had the most words, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, it's all dumb. It's frustrating when you get into the quagmire of the Hollywood rules for things. I just read the book about the making of Airplane, and they did not want to give all 3 of them directing credit because all three of them directed it.
Oh.
And so one of them changed his name to all 3 legally.
It's amazing.
That's the Zanuck brothers?
Yep.
So right?
He changed
Richard,
his name
David,
to like, what was it, Zanuck, and yeah. Or
that's funny.
So, anyways, and they eventually then they realized then Hollywood's like, oh, we're gonna look bad no matter what we do. Okay, you guys can all 3 direct it. That's fine. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, okay. So I like it. Clearly, it's on Seth's top 10. Mariah.
No.
Where are you at with this?
This does not jump into my top 10.
You like it?
But I liked it. It's definitely not in my top 3 of Christopher Guest movies. And I know this is different than
What?
Because
three?
it's Rob Reiner, so it's different. It stands alone. It's the original.
Oh, hold on.
Mood lighting.
Mood lighting. Keep going.
Mariah's getting dark with
getting-
her
I'm
assessment.
going dark, so is the room as usual. It's going
We
to
can
a
see
dark
the
place.
bright light. What are those things called?
The night lights, the top.
No, behind you.
Oh, light
Light bright?
Yeah, you can see light bright right now.
I think this movie is almost as memorable, though, joke for joke, as any other
that
Christopher
last-
Guest. Even though it's not maybe my favorite, similar, it's like the scene. Like again, it goes to 11 scene is one of the best scenes in any movie ever.
Yeah,
right?
it's one of the-
Like,
yeah, literally.
Yeah, it's so much so that it becomes an IMDb outlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
it
what
is
if you
so-
just make 10
what
louder?
happened is great, but it's not. It goes to 11.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, it's
Yes. Which I feel like we can't say
Yeah.
anymore.
yeah. No, it's an original for sure.
How much do you
We're
think I
just
can bench
telling you
press
you're wrong.
as
This
an
is-
I
actor?
appreciate
This
it
is-
so much. I also, and I think maybe just the material, like the subject, is maybe what bumps it down for me. It's like I don't really care about heavy metal bands. In fact, I strongly dislike.
Can you
them in a lot of
imagine
ways.
how good this was in 1984, though?
But yeah,
Can you imagine? This would be like in 1993 coming out with a grunge version. That's 100% would have been
Oh.
like if it was like
sign me up for that one. for
exactly.
sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like if this or I don't even know if it's popular right now, so I can't even give a current day. But whatever the pop
Well, they
is,
did do that kind of singles was kind of equal.
right. Yeah, but they've done they've done a bunch of
Mocking
them.
the grunge.
They also have
Well,
the
you know,
boy
they
band
did never,
one.
never stop, never stop.
Yes, never stop
Andy
stopping.
Samberg,
Yeah, that was great.
Oh god.
So
which was
they've-
funny. Also,
done
good
this.
music. I think that's similarly, at least catchy tunes with a thing like
Yes.
legit music, and also being funny.
Yeah.
was kicked off by This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like Singles and Reality Bites kind of did do that, mocking the grunge. They weren't specifically those types of movies, but they did cover it.
Yeah, but those bands even this is like part of the vernacular. This is every band will reference this when they're touring. Like, oh yeah, this last tour was very Spinal Tap-ish.
Well, yeah, the
This
fact that
is-
they turned it into
Yeah, I think this movie
a
is
qualifying name.
not only are you wrong about not saying this is the best Christopher Guest movie, but it is not. You guys are both wrong by not putting it in your top 10 because this changes our culture more than any of most of the movies you picked. Period.
I mean, if we're talking about just
I'm not gonna.
flat
I'm not
best
gonna disagree
Christopher
with that.
Guest movies, it is Princess Bride. But
But is that a Christopher Guest movie, or is that just like he's
It's a movie he's in.
He's in. That's not a Christopher Guest movie.
but he's good.
You know why it's not a Christopher Guest movie?
because he's himself in it.
Yes,
Not improvised?
Exactly
He's
right.
not acting.
Rob Reiner's like, no, just be more like yourself.
Yeah,
Just do like you.
less acting, more you.
More you. Oh.
I think it's
Be
also
like you and
hilarious. Like Billy Crystal was a guy at this time. Dana Carvey wasn't.
He was a
really.
stand-up
Billy
guy.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was.
No,
you
he's
know,
big. Yeah,
he was
he's
around.
huge.
And he has
But what
like
movie
in what's
had
made it
he
into
in?
the movie. He's got one line. It's insane.
It's insane. Now they did
Research
cut
team
a lot
can
of
get
his
on
lines because that whole bit that I told you
Yes.
about and the, is hilarious.
But again, what made it in?
But I don't think he'd
Is
been
like-
in movies before that. I think.
And
he was a
Dana
big
Carvey
stand-up.
does Dana Carvey even
You're right,
get
87.
a line? Is he miming the whole time?
Yeah, no, I mean when he talks to Billy Crystal,
Yeah.
they're
So
both.
technically,
but it's
he's
like
not
barely.
miming. They're just
Yeah.
talking on the stairs, I believe.
So yeah, Throw Mama from the Train was 87. Running Scared.
Yeah,
was
I mean, I guess it's a
86.
while before movies.
Yeah,
stuff.
he was
Yeah,
just
man.
a big stand-up, and he was on what was he on?
SNL. He's also on SNL too.
Well, on late night talk show. I think he was on Carson
Yeah.
a lot.
That's
yeah,
a
he
wild
was
thing. I did
known.
watch an edit of all sort of This Is Spinal Tap adjacent Letterman interviews.
Yes.
So you see Paul talking about like getting a week off to go shoot his role,
That's so
and then they
good.
come on. Christopher Guest is so awkward in those interviews, it's weird. Early Dave is weird on its own.
Yeah.
But it feels like and they show clip, and it also is like these aren't funny in the way a clip would be funny.
How funny.
Like the movie, it just feels wild. Also, the promo stuff that they would do before the movie came out was show a documentary about cheese rolling.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is so funny.
Like Rob Reiner would
like
come out and go,
over it,
the
like, while it
movie's
goes.
still getting edited.
So perfect.
But in the meantime, watch this.
This
and
is
it's
so
these people rolling wheels of cheese, and they talk about people getting,
it's so
run
punk
over
rock.
and murdered by it.
The whole thing is just like, how did you get away with this? Like, it was a very fun time where just you could do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
And which makes it weird, like not surprising that people wouldn't like go to the movie when it actually came out.
When there's
because
nothing.
they were like, they advertised it. It was showing cheese wheels rolling. It reminds me of Paul Rudd's great
yes.
thing where I was showing
Uncoded.
clips of Mac and Me.
Yes, back of every time. Well, here's actually a clip from it if you want to roll that.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
But it's that weird absurdist, like, you just feels like you can't do
Between
that
two
too much.
ferns. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I say it's good.
Yeah.
It is good.
Thank you for that. Of course it's good. It's freaking.
It's good. It's not
changing.
snobby, and it's not as best.
Good.
It's the best.
It's snobby-ish.
It's kind of snobby because, like, literally you have to know all the references. There's a lot of freaking references.
There's a
And
lot.
I
I
would
feel like I
say
need to
Christopher-
watch it 10 more times.
And
to
let me
catch
tell you
them
this:
all.
I've watched it with people who don't like this type of stuff because it's a snobby thing to like this kind of humor.
Yeah.
We watch.
I don't know
those
very many
people aren't
people watch
related to
Christopher
us.
Guest movies.
Yeah, they're related to me.
Do you know, who do you know?
Wrong
Who do you
side.
know outside of our family that watches a lot of Christopher Guest movies?
Yeah, like if you love Mars Attacks,
Almost nobody.
you're a
I
weirdo.
know.
Yeah,
I love Mars
I love
Attacks.
Mars Attacks. I have like 3 versions of it. So,
Who
but I'm
doesn't
just-
love Tom Jones sitting on the crumbled steps with a hawk on his arm, singing "It's Not Unusual"?
oh my gosh,
Jim Brown punching aliens in the
oh
face.
my gosh, it's so good. Jack Nicklaus
Yodeling,
played half the
being the
characters.
savior.
Oh my gosh, I think to like this type of movie in sense is kind of snobby. Like, yes, Spinal Tap is probably the arguably quote unquote least snobby because it's the most prolific, but it's still the original snobby movie. You can't have The Office without this.
Right.
Ricky Gervais literally said,
and it is hilarious the first time you watch it, but you have to watch multiple times to dig and find more stuff. It's like one of those ones where it's like I didn't get how funny it was at first.
Yeah.
I had to watch it a little bit more.
"Oh my gosh,
Kind of sneaks up on you a little bit more. Like, oh,
I didn't like
it's one of those so funny.
Yeah.
Like it's so smart, clever.
whatever." I do get annoyed
Well,
It's
and
not my favorite Christopher Guest.
if you watch it
It's
again. It would
it's
be.
in it's
You
in
might
the
be right. I don't know.
it's in the pantheon of family, like our family comedies with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Strange Brew.
Space.
It's like
yeah.
it's like it's one of it's in the Mount Rushmore, I think, as far as like what we grew up on comedically
Sure.
betwixt our families.
Yeah.
The only thing that's hard for me right now is saying this isn't the top comedy of all time because I can't give it that top spot. That's the only thing that hurts me because
Because Strange Brew gets it.
take off A.
Because it doesn't have Max von Sydow in it.
Oh no, it doesn't. No, we know what my number 1 is, but we'll get to that later. But other than that, this movie's got to be to start a genre because now every show does this. Every show is Spinal Tap. Like you have so many
basically.
shows
that
that
want to
have-
be clever and funny. And
modern.
Well, in the
Family,
mockumentary style,
sneakers.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
There's a
The
new
Office.
Saint Dennis or something,
They're
some
all
hospital show.
The same. They're all Spinal Tap.
Talk to camera.
It's so it's great. I love it. With Bateman, what's that show?
Arrested Development.
Arrested
Development.
That is
Yeah.
100% Spinal Tap. Like
So true.
it's all
so good.
So would Mighty Wind. So would like just building these characters out. Like it's brilliant. So no, it is underrated still.
Do you hear that, Christopher Guest? Make a show, please. For
Nah,
us.
you
Yeah.
can be a baron. Go change things.
Well, and I love a lot of the
Yeah.
Judd Apatow kind of lineup of movies, but it is a shallow level of improv,
don't know the
right? Like they know the
depth,
scene and they're
yeah.
just coming up with different jokes. The depth of improv, knowing the
The
characters
elaborate
in the
backstories.
Christopher Guest
Just the
universe is
backstory
Okay.
insane.
So funny of all of them.
This one, I think. Don't you think it
We
has
like
the
to eat
most?
soup.
Don't you think this has this
Yeah.
has
To
the
talk
most
and
backward?
Not talk.
Yes, exactly right.
Take naps. We could just not talk or talk all day.
Talk or not talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
think this is
day,
also
yeah.
the because it's a band story for so long. Is probably harder back work than all of Christopher Guest's other work, because usually those other ones they just have to know their own character. They don't have to know, because for them they have to know themselves as a unit for 10 years.
Right.
But all the other movies,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. I'm like, this is probably the hardest one to do.
Well, because they were all creators on this. It wasn't like, this is what your story is. This is what your story is. This is like, let's create the world together. Write the songs together.
The songs are still.
Just the fact that, and then not even have it scripted at all. And let's just go.
It's pretty crazy. Okay. There we
Yeah.
go.
It's pretty
Guys,
crazy.
this may
Yeah.
not surprise you, but this stays on my top 10.
Cool.
That you didn't ask me, so I'm just going to tell you. You guys weren't even interested.
Moving on.
Still on my top 10.
Did not get bumped.
Seth, is it still
You
on your
guys even
top
have
10?
comedies on your top 10? Ugh, you're so pretentious.
Yeah, The Quiet Man. Hilarious.
It's not. It's hilarious, but not for the reasons you
Yeah.
want it to be. Oh, you'd have Royal Tenenbaums. That's fair. That's fair.
I have Royal
It's really
Tenenbaums
sad for
on
you.
mine.
No, I don't have any comedy.
Airplane was a
I
good
think-
one.
Airplane
Philadelphia Stories
was
a comedy.
close.
It's a rom-com.
Airplane almost
That's-
made it.
That's super. That's impressive. To get a rom-com in your top 10, that is the least snobby thing I've ever seen. That's awesome. Way to go. I'm actually impressed.
It's not You've Got Mail.
It's not Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I don't know if this podcast went to 11, but doggone it. We sure showed up.
Yeah, we did.
No explosions.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I looked up beers inspired by Spinal Tap. I'm not kidding you. I found like 20. There was like 20 beers that were inspired.
Or
But
bars.
everything's...
There's probably a ton of bars
Oh,
inspired
it's
by
just,
Spinal Tap.
It's almost... It's like Star Wars. The universe that Spinal Tap has created is almost too wide. Too...
Oh, one more fun
Vast.
fact. The original spelling of Spinal
Yeah.
Tap was SPY.
Oh, I feel like there's so many fun facts we didn't
Oh,
touch.
yeah. Well,
Oh.
also, they did leave a little umlaut
Yes.
on the
Exactly
end.
right.
So it's like spinal tap if you were supposed to
No,
pronounce
not
it that
at
way,
all.
but like
So perfect.
that's not how
Oh
they say
gosh.
it.
Okay, guys. Any last words? If you were giving this a review in 1984, what would your review be, guys? They'll end on that.
Oh,
Is-
11 out of 10.
You have to be.
Is this a documentary? Question mark.
What did I just watch?
Yeah.
Is this?
Yeah.
Is
Are
this,
we supposed to laugh at
is
the
this
music
the
or
best-
enjoy the music?
Is this the best, worst documentary I've ever seen, or
Yeah.
the worst, best documentary? I don't know, but you need to watch this because you'll never be the same.
Is it wrong that I feel
It's
like
also-
it's real and funny?
Seth, like you mentioned, the double layer of, if you have the DVD,
Oh, that double air.
of listening to them talk about the movie.
it's so meta.
There's a running gag. Harry Shearer, Derek Smalls keeps going, oh yeah, he's dead. They constantly are debating who is dead and who is alive. And they're like, why do you keep saying that? You don't know. And he's like, oh no, they're dead. They're dead. Yeah, she's dead. It's
Oh, I
so
like her.
good. And
She's
then,
cool. I
yeah,
liked her.
Ryden, Marty
sweet.
DeBurgi, like, you
Just
know, in the
ripping on
scene
him.
where Derek's
Just a
stuck
hack
in the
job.
like weird pod.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
when he
it
gets
worked every other
when he
time.
gets
Why are they showing
stuck
this
in the
time?
pod.
Why are
Oh
they
my
sh-
gosh, how long is he in there? And
It's
you're
so
just
good.
the guy that's got the blowtorch in the back, just hitting it.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think they said his name was Mokes in the commentary, and it's like they couldn't remember the name of the skull. They keep coming up with different names for what they thought the skull was called. It's so good, and I think that's the thing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving because they are real people now. The characters
Derek
in this
Smalls
movie
is my favorite
have
bassist
lived
of all
on
time.
far beyond anything that happened. It's great.
Oh, that's so amazing. And they're not British.
Watch it, I'd say. Watch
Hey
it.
guys,
them are
if
British.
you haven't heard of this movie, it's called Spinal Tap. You should go out and watch it.
I would say it is in the comedy fan, lexicon or whatever. This would be, if you get into the Christopher Guest land, you are snobbier comedy fans than the average Joe, I would say.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Well, you're at our level anyway.
Yeah.
You're in our
So
book.
if you want to be like us, which I know you all want to be,
I know you want to
If
be
you'd like
here.
to sit down at our Thanksgiving table
Come sit in this muck.
then
and
just
not
go
get lost.
check out
Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman, Best in
This
Show,
is
Mighty Wind.
and Spinal Tap.
Your soup, just sit in it. Is that what you say? Sit in your soup?
Yeah. Maybe not the one with Ricky Gervais. What was that one called? It was like based off Prairie Home Companion.
Oh, yeah.
That one was not so good.
Not so good.
Ignore
Yeah,
that
his
one.
latest two
All the other
haven't
ones
been
are
good. Anyways.
Oh, I think, isn't it called A Prairie Home Companion?
No, with Geese.
Maybe it was called a Prairie Home.
There was
Companion.
Prairie Home,
It's
yeah,
not as
Geese,
good.
yeah.
Everything else is great.
Yeah, everything was good.
Sorry.
All right.
Tangent. Watch.
Well,
It's the Spinal Tap. Thank
Yeah.
you, Seth.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you for
I guess
letting
I have
me
to
rewatch
ask
this
is what
wonderful movie.
What's the hours, I guess. That's what I have to ask.
Thanks
What
for
are the
making me
hours?
watch the whole movie. For once.
Thank you for finishing a movie.
Not just the bits
for
that I've
once,
seen
Mariah.
before.
Well, it's hard that you're not quite as right as you should be, though, Mariah. That's what I just
I
wish
mean,
you
it
were.
wasn't as good when I was 5 when this came out, but I grew to like it. 40 years ago.
Oh, that's all right, guys. This is Seth,
Mariah.
Pat.
and we are Spinal Tap. Oh, the thing, how to be a moose snob. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
that's right. Bye.